focus has been on the academic students using this space behind us. We can definitely see that being seating next to the windows and far away from the traffic has a big effect on the productivity of people. When you as a user of the dock arrives here and wants to be seated, the first thing you're looking for is the location.
Yeah.
So can I be seated closest to the windows and with your back not being exposed? We always knew that interior design affected behavior, but what we're doing, which is different now, we're putting numbers behind it. So we're trying to say, well, this design affects behavior by this much. And how is this different compared to this kind of design? Then you look at the table shapes, or actually which tables are most crowded. And in that sense...
But they're both free.
Right now they're both available, and if I was a single, I was most likely choose to be seated here. Okay. And in 9 out of 10 examples, I would actually choose the seat right here, independent of where you actually put the table, where you have the whole view in front of you. When the view was more or less blocked with blinders, we could see that people sat facing towards the hall. And that was actually expected. But when we looked at the surveys, people said that when there was a view, it was this important. But when we decided to remove the view away, it suddenly became less important. And so if we just had asked the users to start with, we would have gotten a totally wrong idea of how to design this space for their needs.
If you were a stranger, you wouldn't sit here?
I would most likely not be seated here, no. I would most likely be seated at another table. That's sitting so close to you without knowing you would be breaking the intimate zone. This was the first time we're trying to make a sensor-based system that would service the user. So instead of asking people, instead of basing it on or doing it on surveys or having people wear devices, we wanted to make something completely non-invasive. So the sensors up in the ceiling can be running all the time in the background, and they can be delivering live feedback to the building owners of what's working and what's not working. So this is from one of the sensors. So it sees 5 people, and we have 3 of us seated here as a group, and we have 2 singles seated there. And the 2 singles decided to come first and sit there, and then the group of 3 arrived and just sat on this side. And the sensors just observe, and it just follows how people behave. If you want to improve 90% of your budget's efficiency, then don't use the view to have meeting rooms. Use it on the individual workspaces. There's a lot of parameters that we can provide and say, okay, this works, less. There's a higher correlation between productivity and table type. And when you start combining all those, then our studies show that we can start to impact productivity by a level which is significant.